I've had an amazing year this past year, and according to Strava, I've clocked up 439 activities.
Look at all this floor space. We do aerobics in here. So many activities.
And about 310 hours with probably another, let's say 100 or so hours of gym-based workouts. So how's that changed me and what have I learned from doing these things? Because looking back on this is gonna help me plan and get pumped up for next year. And maybe it will help you as well avoid some of the mistakes that I've made this past year and help make you better progress into next year with less effort. I've fully copied this idea from Joan. I'm not sure if that's how I pronounce it. I'm probably completely butchering his name, but his channel anyway is called The Unlazy Way. So you should definitely watch that after watching this. Over the past few years, I've absolutely sucked at endurance-based stuff. So I've massively leaned into it this past year. And I've tried some swimming, I've done a stage of the Tour de France, I've done some triathlons, some duathlons, I've also done the David Goggins 4x4x48 challenge, and I've also continued to do some weights, I've done some bouldering, and I've done some stuff and activities with the kids as well. And I'm not great at any of it at all, but I'm just trying to be overall fit and healthy and sort of well-rounded when it comes to everything fitness. So the changes and lessons then in no particular order, don't miss. So this is top of mind for me at the minute because I'm ill right now and I've missed a few of my training sessions. But the idea behind it is to really try and not miss a session if you don't need to. Now, what I mean by this is just making the most of every single planned training session, workout or event that you've put in the diary. Because ultimately, there's been so many times this past year where fitness has had to take a back seat. And it's often inevitable, but it's also unpredictable, like getting ill. For me, things might be going absolutely fine and I'm getting my training in really well, everything's going smoothly, and then boom, the car breaks down or someone needs a dentist appointment or one of the kids is ill or one of the school clubs have cancelled. And so there's other responsibilities that take precedent over the fitness. But this then just makes it all the more important for me to hit every single session when I have the ability to do so and when I have the opportunity to train. There has been times where I've made a couple of little excuses where I could have actually trained, or maybe I'll do it later instead, and then I haven't trained and then something else comes up. And then before you know it, you've missed an entire week and it's much harder to get back into it. So I've really learned not to take training for granted and seize all the opportunities I've got, because you've got to make hay whilst the sun shines. But the second part to this is one that I got from Atomic Habits by James Clear. I'll put a link to his book in the description below because it's an awesome book, absolutely love it, game changer when it comes to fitness. But this tip is to never miss twice. Now, honestly, it's not a big deal missing one session, but it's what then happens after. If you then miss the next session, so you miss twice, then the third session then becomes much easier to miss. And then you're on this kind of slippery slope where it's harder to get back from. So I try my hardest to not miss the first one, take all of those opportunities that I get and make sure I hit them, all being well. Then I definitely don't want to miss 2 sessions in a row, because then that starts to dwindle the habit for me. This second one I've been absolutely terrible for over the years, and maybe it's because I'm a bit of a sports scientist, but this is to actually practice the thing. Now, for example, if I wanted to get better at swimming, me personally, I'll spend hours just researching, looking for the best workouts, trying to find if there's any gadgets that are going to help me, or if there's any supplements that maybe improve my recovery or make me faster in the pool. When in actual fact, I just need to start practicing the thing. Probably start before I'm even ready and start before I'm comfortable to do so, because there's never a perfect time to start. The quickest way to get better at something is to actually do the thing and practice it and practice it and practice it and do more of it and just learn on the go, learn from your own mistakes. So it's not the fact that I don't have the massage gun that's holding me back, or the fact that I didn't take the beetroot juice that's holding me back. If anything, it's just that I'm not practicing the specific thing that I need to be doing a lot of the time. So I don't know about you, but clearly I'm somebody that wants to do it all. And this year, for example, I set out to be able to do a single arm pull-up, be the top 25% in the events that I'd entered, and complete the longest endurance event that I'd ever done on a bike, and do things like the 4x4x48 challenge, all whilst running a business and having 2 kids. Now you can probably understand the problem that that brings. There's only so much time in the day, and there's only so much stuff that I can actually do and handle and recover from. And whilst we're doing all of these different training types, you're also training multiple different energy systems within the body. And whilst you have to optimize certain ones to make progress at a certain thing, that might actually cause the opposing system to weaken. So this is why you don't see the strongest people in the world, for example, being great at endurance events as well, because they're just opposite ends of the spectrum, and it's difficult to be really good at multiple different things. So for example, I found trying to do really intense pull-up based sessions to achieve the single arm pull-up really difficult, whilst also doing things like swimming and running, because in one session I'm training absolute power and I'm trying to get better at that thing, and then in the next session I'm training for endurance and I'm trying to get better at that. Now the point is, if you really want to get better at something in particular, you really have to focus in on that one thing and train that system kind of solely on its own to become the best as possible. And the more you add into the mix, the more it detracts from that one thing. Personally, over this last year though, I've learned that I don't actually care much about being amazing at any one thing. I'm not willing to sacrifice everything else and put in the required effort to be the best at something. But what I do like doing is picking things that I suck at and becoming good at those things. It's just an insane mental boost, an insane confidence boost, and a really good physical boost as well. And I just feel like I learn so much more that way. It's fun, and I just feel like my overall fitness is better that way as well. And I don't expect to make absolutely tons of progress in any particular area, because I'm trying to do multiple things at once. So really, when it comes to this, you have 2 routes. You either try and master one thing, or you try and be good at just multiple things in general, and understand that you're not going to be perfect or amazing at all of those different things. But you could be if you just wanted to do one thing. The process is more important than the outcome. This one is huge. Now, what do I mean by this one? Well, I'm personally now in the habit of signing up for fitness events, whether it's a 5K run, whether it's a midnight trail run, a sportif, a triathlon, a duathlon, or whatever else. Completing those things is amazing, and I keep all of the medals and stuff. Woo! But what I've realized is the outcome of me doing that event doesn't really matter as much as the process I've gone through to get there does. That's much more important for me. For example, if I sign up for a marathon next year, that's great. Everybody thinks it's an amazing display of fitness. But for me, what it pretty much guarantees is over the next kind of entire year or 6 months or however long I've got leading up to that thing, I'm going to be significantly more likely to get fitter. It's more likely I'm going to be motivated to train. I'm going to go through difficult training sessions. I'm going to spend a lot of time being uncomfortable, a lot of time doing things that I don't want to do all the time, and a lot of time in my own head, and a lot of time learning new things and ways of getting off the sofa. All of which are going to massively improve my fitness and health overall, and reduce the chance of me getting ill, and also increase the quality of life that I've got, and make things in life much easier to do. Playing with the kids, getting up in the night with the kids, all of that becomes much easier. That for me far outweighs any single event that I might achieve. The process, all of the training and everything behind the scenes to get to that event is way more important and provides me with so much more value and so much more learning and so much more fitness than actually doing the event itself. And a little side note on this one is nothing ventured, nothing gained. I love that quote. And yeah, you're risking things by signing up for something. Maybe you might fail at that thing. Maybe you might look a little bit stupid, but you don't really lose anything and you can gain so much. I've completely changed my mind on this one over the years, doing a complete U-turn. And that is, I now believe consistency over intensity. Coming from a strength and conditioning background though, I always thought intensity really mattered, and I thought it was what a lot of people were actually lacking in their training. But I've definitely learned that consistency is way more important, and it should always come first, because if we can't build the consistency and the habits to go out for an easy jog 3 times a week, for example, it's no good then adding in HIIT sessions, interval sessions, or speed work, because we're not going to get the benefits from doing it sporadically. You don't build any sort of fitness that way. And actually, we get far better results from doing things at a lower intensity, but consistently. And when we have that consistency down and the routine is there, then we can add in intensity. And that actually becomes easier to do so because we've already got the habits and the routine there. So now whenever I'm programming for myself, I always make the first part of the program much easier than I think that I could actually do, just to make sure I can lay down some strong foundations and some consistency in my training before then increasing the intensity. Okay, this might actually be my favorite one, and I'm really gonna lean into it going into next year, and I think it's really gonna be a game changer when it comes to my fitness. And that is to avoid majoring in the minors. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, in fitness, there's major things that move the needle and help you to make absolutely massive gains and get great results. These things are like quality sleep, good hydration, good fueling, and consistent training. Even the pros need to focus on these and major in these majors, because this is where 99% of our results come from and where our focus should be. But commonly, people major in the minors, and I've done this frequently in the past. And what I mean by this is they do the opposite, and they spend most of their time looking for things that actually make really minor improvements, things like supplements, compression garments, massage guns, balms, lotions, potions, wraps, teas, tablets, and whatever else. So going into next year, I'm all about mastering the major things that move the needles and increase performance, even if they're not fancy and they're not shiny objects, and really trying to avoid the minors pretty much at all costs, because ultimately a lot of the time they actually detract from me focusing in on the major aspects that do make a big difference. Now I'm interested, I'm really pumped up and excited for going into next year. But what plans do you have for this next year? Do you have any training plans? Do you have any events that you're in for? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be really interested to talk to you about them. And I've also got something super cool for next year. I'm setting up a Patreon of fitness goers with the Discord group, hopefully some events, some training programs, and some merchandise in the future. So if you want to be one of the founding members of that, then the link's in the description, and hopefully we can all get pumped up and motivated for next year. So I'll see you there.